Oh, hey, how are you guys? As you can see, this is not my bed. What this actually is actually a brand new tortoise enclosure for my redfoot tortoises. That's right. And as I zoom out here, I'm going to show you guys that this thing is ginormous. This thing is 8 foot long, 2 foot deep, and 3 foot tall. So I'm going to show you guys just how I built this thing, and I'm super excited to get my redfoot tortoises a brand new ginormous enclosure. So stick around.
My name is Nick Pulaski. Growing up, I have always had a passion for wildlife, and with that passion, along with my passion of filmmaking, I get taken on some amazing adventures creating wildlife content, getting up close with a variety of incredible animals. So come follow along as I pursue my goals of educating, inspiring, exploring, and conserving wildlife, all while having fun, seeing the beauty in our natural world.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me here today. It really means the world to me. As you can see, if you saw the past video, you know what's going on. This whole reptile room is getting changed up, so definitely check out the prior video if you haven't seen it already. I'll leave links so you guys can check it up above, so definitely check that out. As you can see, my dad is also here. He's going to be helping me out throughout this whole thing, but we are building a brand new enclosure for the redfoot tortoises, and this is going to serve as something to put the other enclosures right on top of it as well too. So this redfoot enclosure is going to be 8 foot long by 2 foot wide and 3 foot tall. So they are going to have a ton of room in here. And now what you're thinking probably is too, I have 2 hatchlings and then I have Daisy, who is about 3 years old right now. So they are totally different in size, but luckily because this thing is 8 foot long, they're going to both have their own 4 foot sections, and then eventually these guys can all roam together for a while. Now this isn't a forever home right here. Obviously they're going to outgrow this and they're going to need a lot more room, and that's down the line. So this will serve as a multi-purpose reptile enclosure as well too. To build this right now, I'm going to go through the process right here, and I will go over all the materials that I used as well as what I did throughout this build. So we're going to go through all these different parts as well. All this wood is all finished and painted, so we are all set and ready to go. We're going to build out the frame, and then we're going to put the plywood down, and then I will put the pond liner in and everything. So we'll go over everything as we go on. So right now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building out the frame. So we have 2 foot pieces right here that are going to be put in the middle along with these 8 foot long length boards over here. So we're going to be building the frames first, and it's super easy, but I'm going to show you guys the process of how we do it. Alright, so what we basically did here, and we're just remeasuring just to double check, is we basically put these spacers right here. So we put 6 in here, and that's basically going to serve, it serves multi-purposes for me. So I can actually hook lights and stuff like that and fixtures up to these, and it would be totally fine. So these guys, like I said, are 2 foot wide over here, and then we have the 2 end pieces over here, but we basically space these out 14 inches apart. So we have 6 in the middle here. We're going to do this and double this on both sides of the frame, top and bottom, so just follow that and you'll be totally fine. But that's basically how we're going to do it, and it's going to be really nice and structurally sound, so this doesn't warp or bow. It just prevents anything from happening down the line. So we're going to make this pretty darn structurally sound, which is great. This is going to be the bottom frame right here. So we have the bottom completely done and set and ready to go. So we can put this straight down. If I'm just sitting literally in this like this, they are going to have a ton of space to move around, do whatever they need to. So they're going to have this whole 2 foot inside section to do whatever they want. It's going to be a field day for them. So I'm not going to show you the next process. We're just going to repeat what we just did right here, and we're going to build the second frame, and then from there we're going to build and put it all together. So let's do that. Alright, as you can see, I am in between both of the frames right now, and I am just sitting here comfortably with a whole bunch of room in front of me and behind me as well. There is a lot of room here, so this is going to be a really cool enclosure. It's one that I could definitely just take a nap in, that's for sure. So like I said, we're going to have enclosures on top of it as well too. This thing's going to be really structurally sound to hold a lot of weight. I'm a sweaty, stumbling over my words mess right now. Let's get this enclosure built and get this room back together. So right now what we're doing is we're just testing out the plywood over here just to make sure that it fits. Like I said, all the dimensions for all these things I'm going to give to you guys, so you know. These guys, obviously, because we have these stilts in place, are going to be a little bit shorter than the top pieces that are going to be in place as well too. So we are going to get these guys in place. That's going to be the frame. Obviously, you're going to see that there's going to be a little bit of a hole right here. That's going to be covered up because we have some extra pieces of plywood that we're going to eventually put there as well. And we'll just kind of cover up those holes. It's going to look seamless, I promise you. So just bear with us. It's a lot of work in progress. It looks ugly right now. That's just what construction sites look like, right? Alright, so all the structural beams are in place. Now all we have to do is we have to get the bracket beams, and I'll show you what I mean by those. So, for reference, if we're looking at this enclosure, sorry, it's a little bit dark in this room right now, but for reference, these are the bracket beams right here that sit on the outside. These are the structure beams that we just put in. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we have these guys in place. These guys are sound. They're not going to go anywhere. But because we're going to put a top on here, we're going to put a lot of weight on here as well. We want to make sure we have 4 right here as well as 2 in the middle. So that's how they're going to look right there. And then we're just going to put the top frame right on top of there and screw it all in. So that's how it comes into play. It's pretty easy. It's not too bad to make, but we're going to keep going, and you'll see the progress and see the final outcome. Alright, so what I'm setting up to do right now is I'm setting up to put the plywood in place so it stays flush with the bottom. So we're going to just basically screw in the bottom of the plywood and keep that in place so it doesn't move. So let's get that, and I'll show you that process. Alright, one side down, one side to go. Alright, so we are all done with the base right here. So eventually, obviously, we're not going to have this touching the enclosure itself. So the mulch isn't going on here or anything like that. We're actually going to line this with pond liner and everything down the line. So you'll see that as the build goes on. But for right now, we wanted to get this into place so we can keep on building up. And yeah, so we have the base of the enclosure built. So really excited about that. Now we have to build up and get the stilts into place. So let's do that part. Kind of give you guys a good idea of what's going on here, so you can kind of see just how big this enclosure is going to be. And man, I cannot believe that this is actually in here. This is crazy. I mean, this is just kind of a really, like, still a stressful thing to me. I can't believe that this is happening and finally coming to fruition. It's just something that the end goal is going to be something truly incredible, and hopefully it inspires you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this. If you guys have done any DIY builds for your tortoises or reptiles in general. I love doing these myself, and I love giving you guys the inspiration to do these things. So without further ado, let's keep going and get this built. Alright, so the beams are in place, everything is all set up, so this can hold a lot of weight. We just have to put the middle supports right here. We're going to do that in a second, but we're basically ready to put on the top frames. Voila! So look at that. So easy peasy. But if everything lines up, this is what it's going to come out to. So as you can see, we're gonna have this whole bottom section right here for the tortoises. They're gonna have a great time down here. Light fixtures going up here. We're gonna set up some really cool new light fixtures for these guys. And then up here, we're going to have the T8s up here, as well as all the other reptile enclosures too. So it's gonna be a really cool, nice looking setup for my reptiles up here. So a nice, really cool update for the reptile run. I'm super stoked.
So contagious. Yeah, baby.
It is all set to go for the most part. So everything here is all one piece. So we have the whole frame and the whole structure built. And yeah, like I said, we're going to put some middle supports right here and in the back as well too. And then we're going to put the plywood on top right now. But this is what it's looking like. So really cool. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying this because I'm just super excited to be building this thing. Alright, it is all screwed in and structurally sound. So now we are able to not only get this going down here, but we are able to get everything back into the room and put on top of here. So I'm going to pick you guys up. You guys can see a little bit better. Just spilled screws everywhere. But look at this. So we have the whole top of the table right here, all set and ready to go. And then down here we have the whole tortoise enclosure all set and ready to go as well. So as you can see, we have all the beams in place. These guys aren't in right now. I realized we did not have brackets yet, but we're going to put a bracket here and a bracket here on the back. That's all you need to do. So otherwise though, we are all set and ready to go here. All right, so as you can see, a lot of time has probably passed, and that's just because we had to get a lot of things into place, and now we can finally get back to working on this tortoise enclosure here. So not too much time has passed, because obviously we want to get these tortoises in their brand new enclosure as quick as possible, because they're in temporary enclosures right now. But now we can focus all our time and energy not on the reptile room itself, but actually on this enclosure. So if you look right here, we have the pond liner taken out right now, but the actual enclosure itself is looking great. Obviously this is going to be for my redfoot tortoises. If you're trying to make this for something else, I mean, you can make these enclosures very versatile for anything, and you just have to make sure you're following it and make sure it's suitable for your reptile's needs. But I love making enclosures like this, that's for sure. But yeah, to get to the nitty gritty here, that's all we done. Now we have to put on some bordering edges here before we actually put in and install the pond liner. So that's what I'm going to do right now. We're going to put those in, we're going to brace them in with brackets, and go from there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Working in a reptile room, doing a lot of physical labor, it definitely will make you a puddle of sweat, that's for sure. So we have 3 of the 4 boards in place right now. Obviously I need to get in here, so I'm not going to put the 4th one up just yet, but we're going to put in some brackets right now. And once we have these brackets in, I'm going to put in the 4th one, and then we will put down the pond liners. Now as you can see, the ends are open right now. I will put a barrier there, but I'm also going to be putting their shelters right there too. So their hides are going to go in there, so their little barns that they can go in are going to be on both sides of the corners here. This is going to be the divider over here. I'm going to put something right in the middle over here, and then once these guys are up to size, and if they're still living in here by that time and they're not upgraded to something bigger, I will break down the barrier right here, and they will have free roam for the whole 8-foot section. So right now they'll be divided off to their own individual 4-foot sections, the 2 baby hatchlings and Daisy over here. So it's going to look really cool at the end of the day. I'm super stoked. So I'm going to get these guys drilled in, and then afterwards we're going to set the pond liner. Let's do it. But, the brackets are in. So we got L brackets and we got these brace brackets over here. So this guy is solid and structurally in. So everything is attached. Like I said, the side corners are going to be for where we're going to put their hides and their shelter boxes. That's where those are going to go. We're going to put some barriers back there too, but I'm not worried about that necessarily yet. So we're going to leave those open for now. But yeah, I'm not necessarily pleased with how this looks front and back. I may get like strips of bamboo and eventually kind of build a nice little wall up. If you ever watch Kenan Harkin's videos and Camp Kenan, he does do stuff with bamboo, at least he did in the past, where he would strip it and then he would put them on the sides, and I really liked that idea when he was doing that growing up. So I kind of took inspiration to that, and I wanted to incorporate some of that with my reptile enclosure. So we may be doing something with that where we're going to be getting strips of bamboo, not necessarily covering all the way to the top or over here, but just kind of making it so it's decorative and maybe even build up, because these guys, as they grow, they're going to climb, and they could climb over this 7-inch wall for sure. So we have to be wary of that. So, but right now these walls are in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the pond liner down. I'm going to trim it to the dimensions that we need it at, and we're going to be good to go with that. So let's get that into place. So like I said, the tarp is all down. Definitely a pain, that's for sure. I definitely do not recommend this tarp, and I'm definitely going to, this basically is going to be temporary. Once I move this down the line and potentially redo it in whatever, I'm going to completely trash this tarp, and I'm going to get a proper tarp that actually molds with the actual fixture itself, the actual enclosure itself. Just because this is like a PVC kind, and it doesn't bend or anything like that. As you can see, it's more like a poster board kind of thing, and I didn't know that going into this. I've never worked with pond liner before, so I'm definitely going to make sure that you guys don't do the same mistakes as me and get the wrong kind of pond liner for something like this, because yeah, it definitely adds a lot more work, that's for sure. So yeah, just keep that in mind. We made it work though, that's okay. Totally cool for this project. I did screw in some screws here. Now 2 things, I definitely left some excess on both sides over here. It doesn't look great. It's definitely serving its purpose as a barrier if it's needing to, but at the end of the day, I may be also trimming it down. So we'll see as it goes. I'm just going to kind of leave it there. We should be set and ready to go. Now the next thing we have to do is basically we have to kind of make this a greenhouse, so we have to keep in the humidity levels. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use this right here, which I've used in the past. It works great. This stuff is window sealer, and you can just get this in huge sheets, and it's basically just a plastic wrap. So I'm going to basically wrap the back here. I keep an opening so I can reach the outlets, but basically I'm going to wrap the sides,
And we also have insulation as well too, so I may be using some of that as well too. That's already wrapped up because you don't want to have it open because that could cause problems. So it's already wrapped up insulation, so we're going to use that potentially as well too. And then we get to the nitty gritty and we can basically work inwards. So we got to make the greenhouse first, make sure that we can keep all the humidity in for these guys, and I'll lock that in and make it more of a greenhouse effect. Then we'll work on lighting the inside here as well, and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to get these guys probably screwed in here just so I can get them out of my way, and we'll be good to go. Here we go. All right, so here are these guys right here. These are completely covered in plastic right here, so these are insulation right here that I have. We're not necessarily in a drafty room, and we're definitely in a more tropical room, which is perfect for these guys. These guys do come from tropical climates. I do definitely want to make sure, like the sides over here by this window especially, and then over here as well too, we want to just make sure that we cover any drafts. So I'm not trying to keep this thing completely sealed. I want it to air out and ventilate and everything like that. I will be able to open this upper tarp over here too to also let it air out and get some airflow as well too. We do also want to keep these guys tropical and humid, like I said, because that's where they come from, is tropical climates. So we want to make sure that we're doing that as well, but I want to also be able to air out this as well too. If you don't let this air out and you don't let your tortoises dry out as well too, and you keep their substrate and everything super wet, that can cause problems with their shell. You can cause shell rot, you can cause a whole bunch of different health issues. So it's kind of finding a balance there. Right, so if you haven't followed me on my past video of setting up redfoot tortoises and baby redfoot tortoises and redfoots in general, basically what I'm going to do and what I personally use for a lot of my reptiles is unfertilized cypress mulch. So that's what I have right here, unfertilized cypress mulch. And what this does is it does two things. It, one, keeps in that moisture and that humidity. So I can spray this down twice a day. It will hold the moisture, hold the humidity. If you give it enough airflow, it will also dry out too, so it works in a great benefit. It also looks really naturalistic. I guess there's three things to this. It also looks really naturalistic, which I love as well too. And then finally, it doesn't provide a smooth surface, and that's what's huge with these guys that a lot of people don't actually think about. If you give them a flat surface and nothing different in terrain for them to go on, they actually sometimes will not use their back feet, and they will get lazy, or they will just not have that muscle growth on their back feet. These guys are all-terrain vehicles. You want to make sure that these guys can trex along and use all their legs properly and use those muscles, because that's important. It goes hand in hand with diet, right? Exercise goes hand in hand with diet. So same thing goes for your tortoises. Though they're slow moving, that's what's important, is getting their legs pumping. So we're going to use this stuff right here. We're going to basically first, I have bricks. So we're going to use bricks right now. We're actually going to put the bricks down right here. We're going to separate the barrier between these two enclosures right here. So we're going to have some on this side and some on this side of redfoot. So basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set these guys up, stack them over here, and we'll be ready to go. Let's do this. All right, just like that. I'm going to bring you guys down for a second just so you guys can see this a little bit better for a second here. But as you can see, there's the window screening right there. There's the bricks right there. So they're not put into place necessarily yet. Once we put the mulch down and everything, I want to make sure that these guys are on the smoothest layer possible first. So we're going to put these down, then we're going to put the cypress bedding in. That's going to keep these guys a little bit better in place. But I'm not necessarily worried about them knocking them over or anything like that. They're not strong enough to do those things, but it's definitely going to do the job. So this is about 8-inch height right here. So they're definitely not going to be able to get in contact with one another and bother one another. So that's what we're going to do right now, is put in the bedding. So I'm going to use the rest of this up. Nice thing too with this stuff is it's normally, depending on where you get it, super inexpensive. So that's another perk of using this stuff. Again, we have the pond liner in, and it's not going to cause any leaks or anything like that. We want to have a nice layer of this stuff in here as well too. Definitely probably another bit to go of this stuff, just because these guys do like to dig and burrow. They love to sit in this stuff and hide. Although mine are honestly very bold, even at a young age. Daisy was a little bit more shy, but mine have gotten to be a little bit more bold. They know I'm the food source, they know I'm the chef. So it's always funny to see these guys, because once they see me, they come right over. But I know to some, that's not the case. And don't worry, especially if it's a baby, that's common. These guys commonly will hide because they're babies. And I will, if you haven't already, definitely check out my care video for baby redfoot tortoises. I will leave that above, so you guys can check that out.
two sides all perfectly set up right here. So that is all good and ready to go. So now I'm going to put their shelters into place. We're going to put some other stuff in here as well too. So we also have sphagnum moss on the way that I have to pick up. Actually, we're going to put that in there as well too, so that holds a lot of moisture as well. We're going to get their food bowls in here. We're going to set up the lights now actually too. Alright, so now we're going to get to the lighting aspect of things here. So I have a heat lamp right here. As you saw before, basically the same thing. I want basically, the hides are going to go on both the opposite sides here. So I want to make a nice gradient of heat for these guys. So a thermal gradient for these guys. I want the basking spot to be basically right here on both sides for these guys. So I want it to be about at the temperature range of about 95 to 100 degree basking spot. 95 normally being the sweet spot for a hot spot. And then I want it to be into the mid to low 80s throughout here as we go into the cooler end of things, which is over here. So that's what we're going to do. And then we also have these fixtures right here. And then where is the bulb? These bulbs I've been using for a while. They're not a sponsor, but they are VivTech bulbs, and they're the sun bulbs. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to keep these guys basically at an angle going this way so they have a nice UVA, UVB gradient as well too. So that's what we're going to do. The highest beam will be probably over here, and then it'll get lighter as they go into their shelter over here. Obviously you don't want it dangling over the shelter. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to set these up. These have clamps, and we're going to put them right on top of the support beams over here. So it makes for a great double purpose for those support beams as well too. So that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to drill in a little screw just to hang this right up over here. So that's what I'm going to do right now. All right, so lighting all set and ready to go here. So we got the warm sides all set up. We got the UVBs set up as well too over here with the sunlight. So we're pretty set and ready to go here. So now we can basically just decorate all this out. So we got all the essentials basically planned out in terms of lighting and substrate. So now onto the fun stuff. Let's grab all the supplies. All right, so the first thing I want to go over is this right here. So this is going to be their hide, their humid hide per se as well too. So they'll be able to take shelter and get away and get into a nice dark spot, as well as stay humid and keep that shell nice and moist as well too. Not too wet, but something that's going to be nice and also able to dry out too. This will also serve as a place to put actually the reptile fogger on top here. The fog will actually potentially just shoot outside here, so this constantly stays moist, not too wet. Like I said, it's going to also have the ability to dry out, but for 30 minutes twice a day, this thing will be able to get fog, and the fog can also come out here and go into the enclosure as well. Works great. We're going to keep it pretty simplistic to start, and then we're going to kind of decorate it out as I go. Like I said, I may decorate the side panels and stuff like that later on, but we're just going to work with the basics. Inside here, we're going to put on the bottom to keep it humid, we have sphagnum moss. So we're just going to sprinkle around some sphagnum moss all across the bottom. You don't need too much, but it works great here. Too, what we're going to have is we're going to have saucers right here. So these are clay saucers. These are great for food bowls. So these basically, as they eat, I go over this all in the care guide too, so definitely check that out more in depth. But as they eat, they can actually trim their beaks down on this right here. So we're going to be using these for the food. And then I also have water bowls for them too. So we're going to put all these in here right now. We're going to make sure that they're nice and level with the ground, so they'll be able to actually go in them. They don't have to climb in, flip over, or anything like that. So there are some stuff that I may potentially also throw in here too, but you don't want anything too high up where they'll constantly be flipping over and stuff like that. You don't necessarily want that. You want it to be, like I said, not a smooth surface, but something that's manageable for them. So that's what I want to do for them, at least to start. And then as this enclosure progresses and as they age and stuff like that, I will potentially add more stuff in here too for them to do and move about and get around and stuff like that. That's the fun of all this, is giving the animals a great life and decorating their cage to meet all their expectations and then some. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. The next step is basically just dropping the tortoises in, so I'm super stoked. Let's get this done. Okay, not pretty, but we have this all basically set up. So like I said, we have the hides in place, the bowls in place. I misted down the bedding. These wires I don't like. I think these are unattractive. We're definitely going to do some wire management right now, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to do that later on. Not going to be probably seen in this video because I'm going to get some zip ties. I'm going to do some wire management here, kind of get this all set up. And also I have timers too that I have to find a box of. I have a whole bunch of timers. That way the timers for the lights can both come on and off on their own separate cycles. So we're going to get that as well too going. So I think what I'm going to basically do now is I'm going to give these guys a warm welcome by. I'm going to fill their food bowls with a nice thing of food. And I'm going to put these guys in here, and they're going to be all welcomed into their brand new home. So I'm super stoked. I think this looks amazing. It's so cool seeing something like this come to life. And we were just revamping this reptile room. I mean, it's something that you can envision, but when you finally get it to come into real life, I mean, it's really exciting. Let me get their food bowls full, and let's get some tortoises in here. What do you say? Let's do it. What do you think? Are my tortoises spoiled or what? I think these are pretty good dishes right here, that's for sure. I think this is a good welcome home meal, that's for sure too. If you haven't seen it already, I will definitely leave a link for you guys as well too, to definitely check out how I do my DIY foggers. It's super easy to make. I make them out of these guys over here. So we're gonna set these guys up. They'll sit right on top, like so. And then the tubing will go inside the Humid Hide, so it's not going to have any contact with the light whatsoever. I know people are kind of potentially going to be worried about that, but it's not going to have any contact. The plumbing will make it go down here and go through here, so it's kind of have a nice little fog look throughout the day. Come through here, and then they'll kind of combine in the middle, and it will make it nice and humid, that's for sure. So besides those couple things, I'm not worried about that right now. That's going to be a little bit more time consuming. I'm going to do that later. So let's start off first with our girl, Daisy. Are you ready? Are you ready for your new home, little girl? Oh my gosh, isn't she cute? I mean, she's getting big, that's for sure. She is a definitely more of a handful now, and she's definitely putting on some weight, that's for sure too. Great shell growth and everything. But without further ado, here you go, girl. And look at all this space she has here, guys. Compared to before, I mean, she definitely has double the space that she had before, if not more. So this is perfect for her. Definitely a lot of room for her to grow out and continue to grow, that's for sure too. So I'm just really excited for them. I think they're going to love it in here. Now, tortoises can be totally fine on their own. They are totally independent animals, but I mean, a lot of people will also keep them in groups, especially like redfoots. You definitely want to get like an odd number of them. So I have 3 of these guys right now. And then I also have my leopard tortoises as well too. So it's just, I wanted to get groupings of tortoises all around the same age. So this was the best time to do that. So she hasn't moved a single inch. I mean, she has food. I definitely know she can smell that. They have great senses of smell. But she is totally curious on what the heck is this new place that she's in. And while we wait for her to get all set up, I think what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna grab some of these babies here. Look at this little guy right here. He's like, what is going on? You're a little bit dry right now too. We're definitely gonna soak you a little bit in a second here. It's early in the morning too, so they've been waiting all day for this, but here we go. I'm gonna plop this little guy in here. And he's on the go already. So, a little bit on the go at least. I'm gonna put in his compadre here. That first one was from Mike Novi. This one is from Kenan Harkin from Camp Kenan. This little guy is so cute too. I mean, I just love how small they are. I mean, they're just so adorable. But all right, little guy, I'm gonna put you in here as well too. Here you guys go. But yeah, look at the comparison in here too. I mean, they are super duper tiny. Oh, we're already off to the races a little bit. But they're super duper tiny. They have so much room in here to grow out, and that's what I wanted for these guys. I wanted something that they could just definitely get comfortable in, grow out in, and enjoy their life in. So that's what we did in here for sure. Look at them go. Look at them go. We got both of them running over to get some food. How cool is that? I'm definitely, as you can see, my phone was in the way. I'm getting some video of this because it's just so cool to see and very rewarding seeing these guys get comfortable. I mean, a comfortable, happy tortoise will definitely be eating. But seeing this kind of action and behavior is totally cool. Just seeing how curious they are. This is what it's all about, guys. This is what you should be striving for with your reptiles. It's just rewarding them with the perfect environment. Because the perfect environment... Oh, we got Daisy over here grabbing your food. That's it for right now, at least. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this enclosure? I want to know your comments, your suggestions, your questions. I want to hear it all. This was a lot of work. This was a huge undertaking. Like I said, revamping this whole room just to get this enclosure in place was no easy task, that's for sure. But I think it looks great in here. I think as a whole, this reptile room has come together so nicely. I'm just so really just beyond words, honestly. I think this is just incredible. So I want to hear your guys' feedback as well too, because this room is something that I want to inspire you guys to do for your animals as well too. Like I said, it's all about keeping proper care for these animals. We can't mimic nature completely, but we really want to give these guys the proper home and the beneficial care that they deserve, that's for sure. But thank you guys so much for joining me here today. This was a lot of fun. I love doing these kind of projects with you guys. Definitely stay tuned for more videos and adventures down the line. We're going to be doing more fun stuff like this in the future, so definitely stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as well as like this video too if you could, please. It would really mean the world to me. And definitely turn on post notifications so you guys know when I upload my next video. And also too, like you saw, I was definitely doing some filming for social media as well too, so definitely check me out on my social media too. I'm always posting my animals there and updating you guys there, so you may be getting some exclusive content on my social media as well too, so definitely check me out there. Thank you guys again for watching and watching this build. Truly means the world to me. I love seeing my tortoises all happy and healthy as well too. It's just awesome. So thank you guys again for watching, and until next time, we will see you guys soon. Take care.